Have you ever wished that you had a master floral designer that you could have stand beside you step by step and teach you the process of floral design? My name is Kirby Holt. I'm a master floral designer with more than 25 years of experience in the business, and I want to show you step by step how to create beautiful floral designs with the kits from myfloraldesign.com. I hope you enjoy this video and this series. Hi, I'm happy that you joined us again today for another demonstration on floral design. I'm enjoying sharing some of the things that I've learned over 30 years of my career as a professional master floral designer. And the piece that I'm going to show you today is a very simple arrangement. This is a great beginner level. If you don't feel like you have a lot of experience, this would be a good one to start with because it doesn't have a lot of different flowers and it's something that would be very easy to be successful with. And we're going to start, we have 3 different bushes. One is the Dusty Miller, then we have 2 mixed bushes of hydrangea, peonies, roses, and both of these bouquets are bound with a little bit of raffia and wire that I just cut straight through. And it's good to have some good nice heavy-duty wire cutters. The better quality your wire cutters are, the easier it is to get these wires and stems cut through. And I'm just going to separate those out there. I had already cut this bush of peonies and separate those out. Often I will take the largest flowers and put those in first. If you think of stacking boxes and you want to get the biggest boxes in first and then put the smaller ones on top, same concept here. And I'm going to cut maybe 2 inches off of this first stem and then insert that right into the top center of the arrangement, and that's really going to be, we call it a central vertical axis, or if you think of the axis on the globe, this is that center line that creates the middle of the arrangement all the way around. We have a second one of those large blooms. Again, I'm going to cut about 2 inches off, and I'm going to put it into one side. And notice how if I have it here, the flower is looking straight up, but just by bending it, the flower is looking out to the side. So I want that flower to look off to the side so we get that round line going in the arrangement. Of course, these have wire on the inside, so it's easy enough to adjust the direction that the flower is looking. Again, about 2 inches off, and we're going to insert that one to one side, kind of underneath that middle flower that we started with, and that's not sitting quite in low enough, so I'm going to cut just a little bit more. If you insert and you notice that the line is not going the way it should, and one of the things that you want to look for is it kind of flows down because we're creating a round arrangement, so you want this to kind of flow down. Again, another one of those smaller bloom peonies. I'm going to take about 2 inches off of it and put it to one side. We don't want them perfectly spaced. We don't want them absolutely random, but notice that they just create a little bit of a triangle around that center arrangement. Then I have some of the hydrangea. These are the next size flowers that we're going to use. I'm going to cut about 2 inches off of those. These we will insert just a little bit lower. We have 3 of those. No, we have 4 of those. So I'm going to put 2 on each side, kind of low. Most of these I'm cutting 2, maybe 2.5 inches off of the stem. But you can see it's starting to get that round form around the edges and on the top. So you just kind of want to, and this is maybe about the size of a basketball, just a tad bigger than a basketball. So that's the size we want to strive for as we are making these insertions one at a time. Again, about 2 inches off. This one I'm going to place up just a little bit higher, right on the side of that top peony that we put in. And then we have one last hydrangea, 2 inches off. And I'm going to put it into this space. See, we have a space here with no hydrangea, so I'm going to put one, again, I'm going to go right next to that top hydrangea. Now I'm going to take this Dusty Miller and cut it all apart. Dusty Miller is a pretty grayish color, and it works really well with the color of this container, and it's also very popular in a lot of decorating palettes right now. This would be a great centerpiece if you're doing a wedding. These would be great centerpieces and cost effective, that you could buy these kits and make the centerpieces for your wedding, and then have wonderful gifts maybe for relatives or for your bridesmaids after the wedding. So I'm taking these leaves of the Dusty Miller and pushing those up so that I get most of the leaves up near the top, and by doing so we're not using a lot of the leaves down inside where you don't see them. They kind of crown out at the top and we get full advantage of those. And I'm going to place several of these around the edges of the container and create a little bit of a collar just to finish off that bottom edge all the way around the arrangement. Pushing those all the way up, kind of crowning it out. Well, that one I pulled the wire straight out. So what we want to be sure that we do as we push it up is that it is gliding all the way up, and not, I've never had that happen before where the wire comes out like that, but this demonstrates that it can happen, and if it does, I'll show you what we can do with that in just a few minutes when we finish it off. Working to create that collar around the edges. Some of these stems have two sets of leaves. This is one of those where you have the top three and then the second set, so that when I pull those up together, it makes a fuller crown on it, come in right beside this hydrangea where I have a bigger space, and then right here under that smaller peony bloom I have a smaller space, so I'll use that one to fill in there. I love the wonderful rough textures, kind of the ruffly textures of these. The smooth, shiny textures feel and look almost like they're hardened, but when you go with these kind of ruffly, rough textures, it really gives you a lot more visual softness. So that you can see, as we have placed this Dusty Miller in, we've created a collar all the way around the edges, and I'm having just a little bit of trouble with this one because my wire bent, and just straighten that out and continue. There we go, pushing it up, take just a little bit off. Okay, so as I have put that Dusty Miller in, we filled in a lot around the edges. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball it and see where do we want to put these last elements that we have to finish filling it out. Now this peony, as I have made the form, it's standing out just a little bit too far. You can see it stands away. So I'm going to pull that one back out, take just maybe not quite an inch off of it, and reinsert it, and in doing so I can get it to follow the line of the arrangement better. All right, now we have some roses. I'm going to take those and insert those into any of the larger holes that we have. Here's a pretty garden rose, and I want to make sure that I kind of evenly space these around the arrangement. Here's a good spot for this one. And this peony is another one of our next sizes. We talked about going from largest to smallest in our insertions. Here's a good hole for it to go into. And really we're just trying to finish it off, kind of fill in our holes with these last pieces that we have that are left. Now I want to bring a little bit of that darker red color in right here. And it's okay, I'm just picking the arrangement, I'm turning it to you. It might be easier for you if you leave it sitting on the table, but it's certainly okay if you pick that up, if it helps you get that insertion where you want it to be. But some of this will involve you just using your eye to fill in those holes. You know, we do the same thing when we're decorating a room. We will look at the room and maybe have a corner that needs something in it, and it's the same kind of visual balance that we're striving for as we finish this arrangement off. We filled in most of those openings there, and that's good because most of the last pieces that we have are small, so we can be selective on how we insert those. And because they are small, I want it to sit up just a little bit. That breaks up that really, really even level. But if this were tucked all the way down in, it would keep us from seeing it. It would just kind of disappear into the other. So this will give us just a little bit of that top layer of these smallest elements kind of standing out just above all of the other pieces that we've inserted. Same thing here. And I'm keeping them up mostly toward the top instead of on the edges, because this is the area that we're going to see first. It's always important, you know, to looking at a room or whatever we're decorating and ask, what is the eye going to see first? So whatever our eye travels to, we want to make sure that is given visual importance. We now have just a couple more pieces of this Dusty Miller, and I'm going to, this one does not have the wire, but I can take these and just use a little bit of the wire inside there. I've scored that plastic, and I'm just going to pull that off with my thumb. All right, calls for a knife. Just going to scrape just a little bit of that wire so that it's exposed, and then I can take this set of leaves and go right over a wire that I have and finish it off here. And I've been able to use that stem of greenery that otherwise would have been lost because I pulled the wire out of the middle of it. So while I didn't plan for that to happen, it actually is a good thing it did, because it allowed me to show you a little technique for recovering it. So there's a beautiful arrangement, not too large so that it works well in a lot of applications, whether for a breakfast table, a coffee table, a bedside table, or many places also in a commercial setting. Something like this would work well to bring a little bit of color. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I encourage you to browse the library of arrangements and videos on our website, myfloraldesign.com.